Hey,
Hi.
Wrestlemania 25 is come and gone.
Yeah, certainly has.
I'm not entirely sure what happened.
What?
This may well have been the weirdest pay-per-view I've ever seen in my life. Like,
Absolutely, decidedly odd.
The thing is, I don't even know if I do or don't like it. Like,
It had, redeeming features.
not just redeeming features, it had great, wonderful moments and matches, and
Yeah.
and then it would build itself up, and then it would just die. Just something awful.
It was an incredibly confusing thing to watch. And I don't know, I'm not sure how comfortable I am with the whole experience.
I think just a few things to note at the start, that pretty much all the faces won.
A couple of exceptions, but it was very...
It was very face heavy tonight.
I thought it was very face-centric for pay-per-view.
Yeah, and actually unnecessarily face-centric.
Absolutely. Especially seeing as, from what I could see, and we'll get to this later, but I thought the particular faces being pushed aren't the ones that are most over.
And we also saw the sort of devaluing of a few divisions tonight. Well, I say a few. All the divisions except the world title.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically, we had the Intercontinental title defended in a squash match.
21 seconds.
Then we had the Divas Miss Wrestlemania title won by a man. So, not just any man, Santino. So, the worst man in professional wrestling is also the best woman. And then we had the tag team unification, which
wasn't televised.
Surely it was a huge thing. It did happen, by the way. It just wasn't televised.
Yeah, it happened. The Colognes won. Probably because we didn't pick them.
We didn't pick any of the winners.
But
our booking was more sensible.
Yeah, but no, I was really looking forward to the tag match, and it just wasn't there.
It's just for the record, Primo,
possibly the weakest of the four men, pinned John Morrison, obviously the strongest. What?
With a modified backstabber, which, as Bobby said, means
botched.
It was horribly botched.
How can you botch a backstabber?
I don't know.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
No, but it was a very, very confusing
I think he probably just hit a code breaker by accident.
Oh yeah. Oh shit, I've hit the wrong move. But yeah,
so hit a more effective finishing maneuver.
Exactly. So we're gonna try and go through it.
Alright, we're gonna go through it pace by pace, but
dissect this demon.
Yeah.
So first of all, we kicked off with Money in the Bank.
Now you were a little discouraged at this point because you thought, hell, this is Money in the Bank. This is gonna be one of the highlights of the night, and this is a bit early.
Which would have been probably a justified concern had it been one of the highlights of the night.
True. This was okay.
It was alright, but the thing about it for me was that Money in the Bank is always the thing that steals the show, and while there were show-stealing spots, I felt that this was the weakest Money in the Bank match that I've seen.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. For a start, the opening segments involved far too much of Kane
and Mark Henry just dominating.
Finley.
There was this. I said it exactly at first. Everyone's in the ring and always the ring clears at the start, and I was like, great. The first thing I see at WrestleMania is Kane and Mark Henry in the ring,
slugging it out, officially
lumbering about like Neanderthal man. It's just ridiculous. And that pretty much set the tone, to be honest.
Yeah. There were a lot of botches in this one. This was not as tidy as it could have been.
There were a couple of things I wasn't expecting. Finley, suicide dive? Really?
Suicide dive that didn't even knock anyone over, though. It was the least effective suicide dive I think I've ever seen.
There were some nice spots, though.
There were some nice spots. There was Shelton Benjamin.
Stole the show.
Stole the fucking show like he does every year.
Every single year.
Should call him the showstopper, Mr. WrestleMania.
Did this ridiculous, the giant ladder, the ridiculously big one that would be way, way past the briefcase if they used it in the ring. He set that up on the rampway and did this ridiculous sort of swanton type thing onto everybody off it, and it was absolutely incredible.
He stood on top, looked like a face, all the fans cheering him, and beautiful swanton.
Fantastic spot.
Later, we think MVP botched this sort of sunset flip powerbomb plan.
Shelton Benjamin set up a ladder on the outside, ran up the ladder onto a horizontally positioned ladder, onto another ladder, flipped over MVP to sunset flip powerbomb, and MVP just fell on top of him, and it made them both look completely retarded.
Yes.
Ridiculous. Like, it was just, no, it was not good. I think it must have been MVP's fault, because Shelton basically did everything right.
Yeah, I would never have been able to explain that as accurately as he did there.
And
for me, it was like a platform game, but yeah.
It was... there's some other good spots, you know.
Yeah, let's just run through a few spots.
There was a bit where Kofi Kingston came off very well in
Yeah.
this match, by the way, ducking and diving through the ladders very
that
nicely.
high jump of his.
Lots of very nice elevation, and there was a good spot where, and this is, as far as I could see, was the only reason Mark Henry was there, where Mark Henry was holding a ladder kind of in the middle of the ring, and Kofi Kingston, while he's holding it, runs up the ladder. And
and tries to get the. Yeah,
I'm assuming that Mark Henry's there because he's the only one that can support it while Kofi Kingston does that.
And then Kofi comes down, and Mark Henry delivers the only effective-looking world's strongest slam ever
onto this sort of diagonal ladder.
Yeah,
and it looked really, really.
It looked good. Shelton threw MVP quite a long way with the powerbomb to the outside.
Yeah, on top of people, and MVP kind of hit his head off the barrier. It looked sore.
I mean, there were lots of good things, but like a lot of this WrestleMania, I suppose. In fact, we could say this was a microcosm of this WrestleMania.
Yeah.
It was disjointed. It had bad elements. It was just, and of course, the finish, the booking was all wrong.
See,
you know?
and I thought they were going to have a fantastic finish because you had, I forget who he was with, but Christian was up. There were two ladders in the middle of the ring. Christian was up with them, and someone else was up it as well. And Christian knocked one of them off. They both went falling to the outside.
It was Kane, I think.
And
no,
Kane,
it might not have been actually.
and whoever it was fell outside the ring. And Christian perfectly balanced himself and the
Just
ladder with his foot.
pushed himself back up.
And just pushed himself
It looked
perfect balance into the middle.
So wonderfully arrogant. It was a fantastic moment.
Went to get the briefcase. Everyone was cheering, and then CM Punk appears out of nowhere.
Punk, a massive face, of course, and no one was cheering. People were booing him.
Because people want Christian.
And people have seen Punk. He's won it before,
and
he did nothing. In my view, right, if you won Money in the Bank and you're not a credible contender for the title the next year, then you shouldn't get a chance to win Money in the Bank.
It just proves that Punk's not ready yet. Maybe he will be one day, but he's not
and Christian
ready yet.
is so ready. I mean, he wasn't superb in this match
but
by
he's
any
so
means.
over.
But he's superb in regular wrestling matches, which, let's face it, is what the WWE title or the world title is contended over. And yeah, he deserved the victory, and I was really livid.
CM Punk
won.
Yeah, Kane clears Christian away, and CM Punk wins the match, which I thought was probably the most likely, but I'd hoped that Christian would pull it through. However, if CM Punk is Mr. Money in the Bank and CM Punk wins the world title, I just hope that they give him a more convincing title reign than last time, because his title reign last time was shocking. I mean, it was an embarrassment, and it was not his fault at all, so hopefully, fingers crossed. But anyway, moving on.
Kid Rock set, load of shit.
Yeah, Kid Rock. They didn't show the tag match, but Kid Rock played a full set. What? And the Divas.
I didn't know he had that many songs.
The Divas didn't get any entrances, and there's only what is it, 19 Divas in the WWE, so they had 6 Divas returning. Well, 5.
6.
And Santina. And but they didn't.
We didn't know who these divas were. They announced them sporadically throughout the match
as
they were getting eliminated.
People would get eliminated, and
they wouldn't even show their faces.
Rules in the match, like, oh, you don't actually have to go over the top rope like any other battle royal. You just go out the ring. And it was like sort of 2 divas would get eliminated and be like, oh, that's Tori Wilson and Sonny, as if like we're expected to know that they're there. Like,
there was a point when Bobby asked, who's the mannish looking one? And I said, Luna Vachon. And I was being totally serious. I thought she just dyed her hair black.
And then suddenly, a couple of minutes later, it dawned on Calum, because it dawned on Calum first that it was actually Santino Marella.
We were quite slow in the uptake on that one. We assumed he'd be in the match, but yeah, anyway, Santino wins the match, thus making the women's division ridiculously farcical nonsense.
And then I thought he was gonna come out and be like, who are you? And he'd be like, Santino Marella, like he always does. But he actually went, I'm Santino Marella's twin sister. So I'm holding out for some kind of sex change storyline.
Yeah,
so that'd be really funny.
I think that's necessary. I think if we were still in the era where Mark Henry would sleep with transvestites and stuff, that storyline would be
pretty
about
good
to happen. But
no, the Divas Battle Royal was a joke basically, and Santino